I cannot stand today's racism. And it's not the racism all y'all may be thinking about. In fact, it's not the racism most of America is thinking about. Let me explain. The racism I'm talking about has to do with color, seeing color. The racism I'm talking about is when any race is considered inferior or superior to another race. Now, fortunately, I was not raised that way. Fortunately, I was taught differently. Fortunately, I had parents who taught me not by words, but more through their actions. You see, when my parents moved here, when we immigrated here from the Philippines, okay, way up in the mountains of the Cordillera Mountains, when my Igorot parents, the indigenous Igorots of the Philippines, left that country, left those mountains and came here to America, they taught me to be colorblind. And let me explain how. You see, my father was a civil engineer by trade when he came here. My mother was a nurse, okay? After a few years, after sensing and getting a feel of what the American dream is about, they decided to quit their professions. My father quit his profession, and eventually my mother quit her profession to support my father. My father became an entrepreneur. First started out in real estate, then went into healthcare, and eventually went into financial services. But from the very beginning, I was exposed to so many different colors of people. From the very beginning, we always had people coming into the house. I always accompanied my dad to appointments. He did a lot of home appointments, or when he wasn't having clients or prospects at the office, he was going out visiting them, doing presentations, sales, and whatnot. So he took me along on many of those. And as far back as I can remember, there were always black people, there were always brown people, there were always white people, all shades of brown, all shades of white. Okay, I've seen what we've had friends from all race, ethnic groups, blacks, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Indians, Native Indians, all different Hispanics, Europeans, Eastern Europeans, all from all over the place, immigrants. I've heard just about every accent you can hear. So that's how I was raised. That's from as far back as I can remember. I was raised to be colorblind. Now, when I say I was colorblind, doesn't mean they raised me to be behavioral blind or ignorant in that matter, because I knew, even without being told, if we were to go to a certain part of the city or a certain part of the suburbs, I knew the difference between one part of the city and one part not. And to give you an example, so I'd get in the car with my dad, and we would go down Harlem Avenue. Now, on the exit of Harlem Avenue, we get on the Eisenhower. If we go left, if we turn on the ramp left, if we're going towards the city, back then there was this big Magic Kiss sign on there. And when I saw that Magic Kiss sign on the city, and I knew I was going into the city, I said, oh boy, I'm going into a place where I saw a lot of shady characters. Okay, and sometimes my dad would say, stay in the car, lock the car, and he'd have me kind of lean back my seat while he ran into a house to drop something off or something like that, where parking was difficult or something. But I remember those times, and I remember seeing shady characters, shady things going on. I knew it wasn't safe at some times, but it wasn't because I was in a black neighborhood or a Mexican neighborhood. It was just because I was in a neighborhood where these things happen, whether black, white, or Hispanic. Okay, so although I was colorblind, I knew the reality of behavior and things of good and bad. Heck, in school, when I was in school, I went to an all-white school. Okay, I was one of three non-white we were one of three non-white families in the school. Okay, all right, but when I was at school there, as in elementary school, I remember older kids calling me names, calling me racial names. They were so bad at it though, because they picked the names that had nothing to do with my race. You know, I'd get the N-word, and it was not what you think. They called me Nip. You know, I wasn't Japanese. They called me Chink. I wasn't Chinese. They go down the hallway. I'd see them going on, chink, 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 chink. They do things like that. Call me Zero. You know, Zipperhead. You know, like, I'm not Vietnamese. You know, at that time when I was a kid, I had no idea what these names were. But I did know that they're making fun of me. Chink, 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 they're making fun of me. Things like that. It got to a point, too, where I experienced some things where some kids would want to bully me because of that. They call me Chink and things, and they'd want to like wait around the alley or something like that and try to catch me and wedgie me and whatnot. Fortunately, I had me a good friend who lived across the street. He was a grade older than me, a big Irish guy, and everybody kind of feared him. So mess with me, you're gonna have to deal with my friend there. So that kind of helped buffer things out. But hey, I experienced that. But you know what? None of my kids did. Okay, none of my kids experienced what I experienced, what little racism I experienced. Okay. You know, I don't remember my son coming home crying, thinking, you know, somebody tried to corner me and they tried to bully me and wedgie me and give me a wedgie and call me all these racial names. You know, I don't remember any of that. That didn't happen. Okay. In hindsight, looking back, I can see why that would have happened. I can see the parents of those kids that called me those things probably came through the Korean War generation or the Vietnamese War. And me being brown certainly may have associated that with being Vietnamese or Japanese or Korean or whatnot. But you know what? My children has never experienced that. Thank God. So basically, I was colorblind throughout my entire elementary grades, okay? Then we moved down to Florida in the same situation. Went to a white high school down there. There was a black family. There was another Filipino family, but basically it was mostly a white high school. Okay, came back up to finish my last year in the high school up here, and made friends. And guess who my friends were? You know, I made friends with kids on the south side of Chicago. Okay, they were black. They were Mexican, they were white, you know, and we were tight. We were friends. We were good friends. I knew that I couldn't judge somebody just by the color of the skin. Okay. Well, I know, yeah, some people do, and some people did. At times, you know, there's stereotypes of different cultures, different races. One group, you know, is stereotyped this way, or Filipinos stereotyped this way. Black people stereotyped this way. That's always going to be around. But my overall experience was, hey, just because they're this certain color doesn't mean they have to be this way. Because I know people. I knew black people that were great people, and I had experience with black people that weren't. I had experience with Mexicans that were great, Mexicans that weren't. Filipinos that were great, Filipinos that weren't. White people that were great, white people that weren't, and it goes on, okay? That's how I was raised. So if you were to ask me today what I thought about America being racist, no. There's racism, but America overall is not racist. It is not. At least not in my experience. And I'm sure there's exceptions. There's always exceptions. All right? Everybody wants to throw the exceptions. But in the grand, whole, big realm of everything, America is the least racist country, and I am so glad and happy to call myself an American. I am so glad and happy my parents came here, taught me through their actions not to judge people by the color of their skin, but by their character. But you know what? That ain't that way today. Because today, the racism going on today blows away the racism that I knew growing up here in America. It is worse today than ever. When I say that, it's because now we are being forced, our children are being forced to see color. You know, whatever progress we did, whatever civil rights movement, whatever things that happened and where this country, e pluribus unum, from many one, whatever progress from all these ethnic groups, these races coming together in this melting pot called America, now is being dismantled because we're being forced to see people, to put color in our, to get out of this color blindness. So in addition to the life examples of my parents and what they taught me about being colorblind, in addition to that, they also raised me Catholic. We were a Catholic household growing up. Now what that meant was I believed in the Catholic teaching that God made everybody in the likeness and image of Him. We are all made in the likeness and image of God. Okay, so when I combine my parents' teachings and my faith, and I combine those two together, I can honestly say that America is not as racist as y'all may think or being led to believe. Okay? But hey, you know what? Not everybody was raised the same way I did. Not everybody was raised to be colorblind. In fact, the problem is a lot of people didn't have the kind of parents that I have. What did they have instead? Well, the younger generation, first of all, God has been tossed out of our society and is continually being tossed out of society. So people are having a hard time today just seeing that, just believing that people are all made in the image of God. So when you throw God out of the picture, that's a big problem right there. But the other problem is they're being taught some crazy things from school. They're from the colleges, from the universities. They're being taught not to be colorblind. I mean, it's like they're in this forest, and in this forest, all they can see are the trees right next to them. All right? They can't see beyond it. And all these trees, they're spewing the same thing over and over again. And what these trees, I mean, when I say these trees, I mean basically like either the universities, these colleges, these liberal professors, all these media channels like CNN. I mean, so this tree would be CNN, and this tree over there would be MSNBC. And all this media that is just pushing a political agenda. Social media. You know, they just look at stuff on social media and they follow everybody. They follow what this is, this opinion, and they lack critical thinking. They lack reason. And when they lack reason and they don't have any faith, man, that's why we're all in a big mess here in this country, in this world. Even us Catholics. Because we Catholics are supposed to be living our faith based on reason, enlightened by faith. If we don't even have the reason, my goodness, thank God my parents instilled in me, inculcated in me the reason of being, why it's important to be colorblind. Just reason itself. And they also imparted in me the Catholic faith to enlighten that reason, to know that I cannot judge anybody by the color of their skin, to know that I can only judge a person by their character, their values. That's what they taught me. And guess what? I think somebody else taught that too. I think his name is Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah. You know him? He's even being tossed out the window these days. Okay? Now, you know what I'm talking about. When I'm saying all the being enforced, being fed all these things, you know what I'm talking about. Because the racism today is racism. We are being forced to see color and to distinguish people by color and not by values, not by character. You know what I'm talking about. All this protesting, all these virtue signaling, all these, dark squares on media and all these things going on. BLM, you know what that means. Yet because they're in that forest and all these trees are all close and that's all they hear, man, and they don't have parents that would feed them truth. They're being fed lies. That's a problem. So for those people out there, if you know any of them or if any of you are watching, I highly encourage this. Okay, you got to see both sides of the coin now. Okay, I would highly encourage just getting outside above that forest, getting out of that forest, looking down on the forest. You know that old, you see only the trees. You got to get up and look at this forest, see the bigger picture. And when you see the bigger picture, you're going to see there's a whole lot of political agendas in there, a whole lot of other agendas, and why people are making race and racism, trying to get people to believe that white people are out there trying to hunt down black people, etc., etc. All these false narratives. You'll see that there's something just wrong about that. But I would encourage this. I'm going to put in a link below. I would encourage you to check out, to stop listening just for a bit. Turn off the CNNs, turn off the news, turn off all these, and start realizing that when you look down at this forest, hey, there's a lot of trees out there that are actually speaking truth. They're actually colorblind. They really believe that all lives matter, regardless of the color of their skin. I really respect and appreciate the black people in this country who are speaking out against all these false narratives. First link I would start off is checking out this guy, Larry Elders. And he asks a big question. He addresses the big question. Is America racist? From there, check out Derryk Green, where he addresses a question. Who are the racists? And from there, you got to check out Candace Owens. Candace Owens, she addresses the topic of the left wanting to keep racism alive. And then you got to check out Brandon Tatum. Brandon Tatum, and he, we have all this talk about white privilege. I think he answers that he answers that pretty well in this one. So check out Brandon Tatum. And when you start listening and learning more truth, eventually you're going to come up to some realization that a lot of minorities, a lot of black people are coming to realize, and that is, it's values that matter, not race. Values, not the color of your skin. I mean, check out what Kanye West and Antonia Okafor has to say about that in this one, in this link. Check that link out down there. So now when you start learning those truths and you start seeing the force for what it is, you're going to see that there's a big political agenda going on here. A lot of black people in America are starting to wake up to the inconvenient truth of the Democratic Party. Yeah. Carol Swain, or Professor Carol Swain, talks about this in this wonderful short video as well. Check that link out. And the follow-up that is Dennis Prager. Now here's a guy who hits it on the nail when he elaborates on why values is really the most important thing and not the color of the skin. There's just so many out there. When you start looking at them, you'll find out that the forest that you think is screaming just racism is not. Not all black people are falling for this BLM thing. A lot of them are against it, and more people are coming to the truth of what this whole thing is. They're starting to realize, like Carol Swain here in this video talks about that organization being Marxist. So it's important to get the truth. All right. Once you get the truth and you start seeing the forest for what it is, yes, then you might come to the same realization I've always believed in. America is the least racist country. But I encourage you to do this. Go a little bit further than that. Elevate yourself above that. Instead of just seeing that forest, elevate yourself up and start seeing more than the forest. See the globe itself. See the bigger picture. All right? See, because the real big picture is this. Okay? The real big picture comes down to good and bad. Comes down to the Genesis to Revelations, the good and bad battles in between them, and it exists today. Now, what I'm talking about is spiritual warfare. That's what I'm talking about. And I encourage you, there's one video in where Archbishop Vigano, and for some of you who are not Catholic, I encourage you to watch this. This is one of the few prelates, the few bishops of the church, the Catholic Church, that sees beyond all of this misinformation and all these agendas that's also plaguing our church, the Catholic Church. In this video, Dr. Taylor Marshall talks about a letter that was sent from Archbishop Vigano to President Trump, warning him of a diabolic inscription from Baphomet with the Latin words of salve et coagula. In Latin, that basically means to dissolve and coagulate, or to congeal, to make new. He really sees the bigger picture. This is a diabolic attack on America. Okay, this is good versus bad. It's really worth checking out this with that video that Dr. Taylor Marshall had, because those words were tattooed on the demon. If you look up the demon's pictures, it's on his arms, which a lot of people don't realize. And thank God President Trump got the message, because recently he tweeted back something, and he mentioned Dr. Taylor Marshall, that there's a war against Christianity. So that's big. This is our president recognizing the bigger picture of this being about good and evil. About good and evil. This whole racism thing, trying to get people focused on racism and trying to divide our country. This is what this is happening here. They want to dissolve, break up the color blindness that I grew up and was raised to grow up with. They want to break that up, dissolve that. They want to dissolve all the good things that has happened since the civil rights movement. They want to dissolve the progress just so they can recreate, coagulate, recreate their own new country. Very diabolic. Very diabolic. So take the time to look at these links, okay? Because these links will bring you the truth. And the truth is the truth. The truth will set you free. It'll set you free. And we need to be set free because we are being held hostage by this whole racist thing. Okay, don't fall for the narrative. Don't fall for it. Pray for our country. Pray for our country. God bless America. So until next time, like I always say, make a Catholic difference. Connect to your Catholic roots. Engage in life's spiritual battles. Don't just man up. Don't just woman up. Be like St. Benedict and BenUp. Hey, this is Rex. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, hit the like button, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell button too so you get notified on future episodes. So until next time, God bless you.